Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC 269, Charles do Bronx Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier. And Shaq, it's going down this Saturday night live at the T-Mobile Arena. You got the undisputed lightweight belt on the line. I mean, two guys that have truly been paying their dues for years, man. I mean, we grew up watching both these guys. Now they're fighting in an undisputed title bout, not to mention you're dealing with the guy with the most knockouts in lightweight history, Dustin Poirier, versus the guy with the most submissions in UFC history, Charles do Bronx Oliveira. This fight should be madness, Shaq.
Yeah, I mean, I as of right now, I truly think these are the two best lightweights in the world. Charles Oliveira and Dustin. I mean, look at the roads they've had to get to this point. I mean, both guys have taken setbacks. I mean, Charles, we already know about his setbacks, and now it looks like he's finally putting things together. We know he's one of the most, if not the most dangerous guy in the world. Because, now his stand-up is getting better, too. And, we already know about his ground game. And then you got Dustin Poirier, a guy that rises to the occasion a lot. I mean, this guy look at his resume. I mean, it speaks for itself. And, I'm super excited for this fight because, lightweight still, in my opinion, is the best division in the UFC. And I just think like whoever wins this fight, I mean, look at all the great fights he has ahead of himself. You got Islam and Darrick about to fight. Then you got Justin Gaethje in the horizon. So, I'm super excited to see who wins this.
Got a rising contender named Fiziev out there too, man.
I hope they get Fiziev Ferguson or something like
that. Out with the old, in with the new. I mean, man, these up-and-coming lightweights are something else, but at the top of the mountain, Dustin Poirier versus Charles do Bronx Oliveira, I mean, you can read off the kind of records these guys have. I mean, Charles Oliveira, most bonuses in UFC history. I mean, the guy's just, he's truly something else, and it's amazing to see him blossom because we saw his UFC debut against Darren Elkins, that triangle armbar. We saw that subsequent fight against Efrain Escudero. When I first saw this guy, I mean, he seemed like a future world champion. We've never came out here and criticized Charles Oliveira's stand-up. I've never criticized his jiu-jitsu. It's always been about the mental catching up with the physical. And I mean, the David Tamor fight, he got dropped, comes back, destroys him. The Michael Chandler fight, he had to overcome a little bit there too. So I think the mental has caught up with the physical, and as a result, Shaq, you're looking at an undisputed world champion.
Yeah, I mean, Charles has always had the potential. Honestly, it was never like due to it was never due to like a skill thing. It was just, he'd hit that wall. You go so hard with the submissions, and then you hit that wall, and then, that's what a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, that's what their weakness is, So seems like he's figured that out. But I think this is going to be the ultimate test on Saturday.
Yeah, because I mean, like, even dating to back in the day, there was this fight between Dustin Poirier and Eryk, and Dustin Poirier drops Eryk, and then he gets caught in one of the deepest triangle chokes I've ever seen in all my years watching this sport. He survives that. And this was like maybe 10 years ago, maybe slightly less. And that just shows that, I've seen him in these compromising situations overcome them. But then, he had some setbacks, whether it was Korean Zombie getting caught by submission, whether it was against the great Khabib. But, man, he made Khabib work. I watched it last night. Like, even though it was pure domination, I can't deny that. But, like, he made Khabib work, and it showed that, like, a couple – maybe a year or two more of just working on this side of the game. And I think he's ready to re-challenge for an undisputed belt. That's exactly what's going to happen. So, I mean, both these guys, I see them being Hall of Famers, and this should just be pure violence. I could see them having a trilogy or something like that down the line.
Yeah, 100%. I know Justin Gaethje doesn't hope for that, but, I mean, for sure, man, I got the utmost respect for both of these guys. You can't deny what Charles has done. I know I know some people are saying the opponents might not have been, what Dustin's been fighting recently, but still, man, there was times where he was getting subbed by Ricardo Lamas and Anthony Pettis and stuff like that. So, where he's at right now is a big drastic difference in my opinion.
Yeah, and if he beats the great Dustin Poirier, well, no one can say anything about his level of competition anymore, right? And on the flip side, Dustin Poirier, I got to say, I've been waiting a decade to see this guy touch undisputed gold. So let's see if third time's the charm, because, first time against Max, interim, second time against Khabib, undisputed. Let's see if this third time at a championship opportunity is where he finally realizes his paid in full dream. So we're going to break down this whole card start to finish. Going to give a shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks, here in a little bit. Everybody do us a huge favor. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, retweet our tweet, let everyone know that we're live right now. And Shaq, let's get down to business, my man, because first up, In the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Gillian Robertson, she's 9-6, taking on Priscila Pedrita Cachoeira, who is 10-3. And currently, they got Gillian Robertson minus 360. The comeback on Priscila Cachoeira is plus 300. Look, I agree with Gillian being favored, right, man? I think she's got a big edge on the match. She's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. We've seen Priscila taken down multiple times. It's just when we're talking minus 360, when we're talking minus 400, I want all my bases covered. And I don't know for a fact that if Gillian eats some of these shots that Priscila can deliver, that she's going to necessarily like it and be able to stay on her game plan. What's your opinion on this fight?
Yeah, Gillian should be favored. She got the most submissions, I think, in that history of that division. Granted, she was one of the very first people to be in that division. But, man, I like this girl, Priscila Cachoeira. I think she's, I'm not going to say underrated, but I think that kind of similar to a fight, what was that fight? Andrea Lee versus Calvillo. I think one person's momentum is going very up, and I think the other one's is going down. Now, I'm not going to say Gillian's done but I feel like same thing with Calvillo, like she's figured out. She only has a plan A, and it's, trying to get the submission. But the thing where I think she might struggle with here is Priscilla's not no quitter. Like, Priscilla had to take a few steps back. Like, she even said in her post-fight interview after Mazzani, she was like, when she fought Valentina, and Mario Yamasaki really is a piece of shit, but he was like, she said that she felt like she got the lion beat out of her, like she was so like, she was undefeated at the time, and she's like, she really felt like she got the lion beat out of her, so her confidence just went all and that fight should have got stopped way more sooner. Like, you can't let somebody just take a pummeling like that, man. But I still think it shows her heart. She comes back, she loses to Molly in England, lost to Luana Carolina, and now she was finally able to get 2 stoppages in a row. And Gillian, her last 2 fights, I mean, it's a consistent thing with me for Gillian. If everything is smooth sailing the whole way through, yeah, she can win and get her sub. But the second there's any resistance, I mean, she does quit. Look at the Tyler Santos fight. Now, I know Tyler Santos is top 5, sure, but even the last fight with Maverick, Maverick's skill set, I'm not gonna say it's, it's still developing. It's still, needs improvement. And I mean, like, she got on top of her a couple times, and the second they get back up, she just starts getting teed off on, man. Even like, she could have won that second round, but when they stood up, I mean, Maverick just started going off on her, man. And I feel like, these girls don't have the that one trait that Priscilla has, and that's KO power. Like, there's not going to be no, pitter patter for 3 rounds. It's going to be a knockout if she touches Gillian, man. Like, she's not going to let this girl off the hook. So I think the line's way off. I don't think Gillian should, unless she's fighting, like, I don't view Priscilla as a scrub, man. She's switched gyms from Andrade's gym to Figueiredo, and it doesn't even matter if she's training with Figueiredo or not, man. She left that gym because she said they had Andrade and Carol Rosas. She was like, kind of like a third fiddle almost. She wanted her camp to be all about her. I think that's a very good decision for her. As we've seen, the last 2 fights are vicious KOs. So I'm actually going to take Priscilla Cachoeira for the upset. I think Gillian probably will get the takedown early, but I see her hitting a wall at some point, man. I feel like there's a little bit of a size difference, an intensity difference, power difference. She's got to get this sub early because she leaves Priscilla hanging in there. Priscilla's got 14 minutes and 59 seconds to knock her out. And I really don't think that Gillian can take these shots. Like, this is not Maverick or what's the other girl that she fought? Tyler Santos is top 5, but in terms of the punching power, man, I think Priscilla has these girls beat. And you remember what Eddie Alvarez said,
Tell him what Eddie Alvarez said.
I mean, he said he watched, this was like a long time ago, like years ago. He's like, I watched all of Gillian's fights, and I came to a theme that if she can't get a first round sub, she quits, So we'll see what happens, man. She better get this sub.
Real quick, on a side note, speaking of people changing camps, you saw what my boy Henry Cejudo did? You see who he's trying to recruit?
I mean, I know he's got Fig down there and John Jones. I don't know if he's still down there, I believe. So.
Guess who the newest addition they're trying to get in there is?
Who?
Jiri.
Oh man, that's if he gets on Neuroforce
fight ready, Jiri.
if he gets on Neuroforce one, I mean, I already think he's gonna be the champ personally. I think that style he has is way too tough to deal with. I mean, you saw what happened to Reyes. The only issue is you just keep your hands up a little bit, Jiri. Like, please, like,
dude, fight ready, Jiri training with Bones and Cejudo, like.
Damn, so yeah, Jones is heavyweight now, so he can train.
And all the scientists down there, yeah. I mean,
y'all see the type of shape Figueiredo is in right now. I mean, he doesn't look far from weight at all. Like, he looks within like 5 to 10 pounds, you know, where in the past it's like 20, you know, so we'll see.
I mean, Figueiredo literally left Brazil. He's not doing the Brazilian barbecue. He's living at Henry Cejudo's house.
Yeah.
So I expect a different result this third time out between them. But back to this fight, man. Look, I definitely think Gillian Robertson's going to come out here and get the takedowns. I mean, she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. She's got the most submissions in that weight class. I mean, she's been doing her thing on the mat. It's just the fundamental difference between the two is if you go back to Priscila Cachoeira's UFC debut against Valentina fucking Shevchenko, I mean, look, yeah, it might have been a beatdown, but you know what I learned about Priscilla? She's willing to die in there. And I can say wholeheartedly that, you know, Gillian just doesn't share that same mentality. I mean, go back to the Macy Barber fight, man. I mean, Gillian, when she's doing great, when she's on top of you, when she's going for the submission attempt, she does her best. But, you know, when she starts flopping to her back, when things start to not go her way, when you start to attack submissions on her, when you start hitting her with some hard shots, you know, for whatever reason, she doesn't like that. She doesn't respond well to that. So I see this being a situation where, you know, Gillian's going to take her down, like I said, possibly submit her, possibly ground and pound TKO. But if that does not happen, they get back up and Priscilla starts landing some of her, you know, she comes from that, from the Jessica Andrade school where they wing those big looping.
That's all they do is
they wing looping shots, man. And also you think about her background. I don't need to really mention what it was, but let's just say that, like, she's been through some shit to where that's why you see in that Valentina fight that there's no quit in this girl whatsoever. So it really comes down to, can Gillian get her out of there early or consistently maintain that top control and not give her any moments? I lean Gillian. When we're talking minus 400, I want all my bases covered, right? And my bases are not covered in the toughness department. My bases are not covered in the striking defense. It's only covered on the mat. And that might be enough, right? So the pick is Gillian, but at the window, I think it's a dog or pass situation. So pick is Gillian, but if I were to bet, it'd be like a half unit shot on Priscilla. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a match between Randy Costa. He's 6-2, taking on Tony Kelley, who is 7-2. Currently, they got Randy Costa minus 170. The comeback on Tony Kelley. Depends where you look. I see a plus 160. I see a plus 150. So basically, Shaq, I mean, for 5 to 7 minutes, this kid Randy Costa is hell on wheels, man. It's just that he's one of those guys. He's got a bit of a little bit of that Warley Alves in him, man. I mean, like, he's going to go out there, and if you just watch all his wins, he literally destroys everybody in the first round. The 2 times he's been past the first round, he's been finished by Brandon Davis and most recently by Yanez. So it's really about Tony Kelley. I know he's a durable guy. I know he's tough. He's from Louisiana. He's been paying his dues for a while. I've seen him take some hard shots, never been finished. And also, to his credit, he's been 5 rounds before. And the reason I bring that up, it's not just, he went 5 rounds, therefore he's going to win. It's just that, like, anytime Randy Costa goes past the first round, and it's not because, again, look at the shape Randy Costa's in. It's not like he ain't out here running his miles. It's just more of a thing where Randy Costa, if he can't get you out of there, he starts to wonder, why is this not working? Like, why is this guy still here? I don't think he likes getting hit. I think Randy Costa loves winning. I think Randy Costa loves knocking people out. I just don't think Randy Costa actually likes the process of the actual fight itself. Whereas I think that's the fundamental difference between him and Tony Kelley. But the other fundamental difference is that Randy Costa is a lot more athletic, a lot faster, probably the more talented guy. It's just that talent and heart are 2 different things. And I think that Tony Kelley does have the heart in this spot. So he's going to have to go through what Brandon Davis and what Adrian went through. Like, get your ass beat for these first 7 minutes, but you stay in there. And Randy's not going to know what to do. He's going to fall apart. Listen, Adrian Yanez didn't knock him out. Like, to quote Cub Swanson back when he fought Charles DuBronx, I don't think I knocked him out. I think he quit. And then the Brandon Davis one, I know he was only 4-0. We were there in Atlanta, but like a no hooks rear naked choke. So it's just one of these things where it's like just stay alive for 7 minutes, Tony, and then you're a very live underdog to come out here and win this fight. I think he does have the grit. I think he does have the tenacity, and I think he takes over late and gets this upset. So give me Tony Kelley.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough fight. I mean, I agree with pretty much everything. I mean, the first round is going to be rough for Tony for sure. I mean, this punch kick rhythm that Randy Costa has is very hard to pick up
and
on.
He's long.
I mean, that jab is just when he hits that wall, man. I think he came into the UFC a little bit prematurely, 4-0, and he's having to fight, good guys very early in his career, like Muniz and I guess Brandon Davis, but
Brandon's experienced.
He's experienced, yeah. But it's just, man, Tony Kelley, he's got to actually finish him. And, from his fight with Kai Kamaka in his debut, I mean, yeah, we definitely see he can fight for 15 minutes. He even had a fight in LFA back in the day with Aguilar that I saw 5 round. Yeah, I think that was the 5-rounder. And I mean, he showed his heart as well, but he was also very premature in his career at the time. So yeah, I definitely could see Tony Kelley getting a comeback victory. But man, Randy Costa's got to man up one of these days, man. I mean, because dude, he looked good against Giannis that first. I was like, dang, that it's hard to pick up on them kicks after like his rhythm is funky, man. I think he's gonna pull this one out, though. I think he's gonna finally go 3 rounds, and I mean, he's got to do it at some point. But maybe he just can't. I don't know. But I think Tony Kelley, to be honest, I had a bet on him. I forget the guy's name that he fought, but he's from like Jordan or Al-Kazi. Yeah.
By the way, he's on a win streak outside the UFC.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. But I really wasn't that impressed with Tony Kelley's performance. I know he wobbled him a couple times, but other than that, But
it was a lot of grappling, and Randy doesn't shoot.
Yeah, true. But I really thought I really thought he could not finish that guy, or just done a little better, But yeah, I'm gonna go with Randy Costa. I think he's gonna finally go 15 minutes. He's got to level up at some point. I just think he's way more talented, to be honest. But like you said, sometimes talent doesn't have heart. So I wouldn't be shocked if it went the other way. But I just think he's too sharp, too fast, too long for Tony Kelley. I'm not that impressed with Tony Kelley striking. I mean, I know he's tough and I know he's willing to stay in there, but you got to be careful with Randy early. Like, look, Giannis, who a lot of people are saying is a top boxer in this division.
A better boxer than Poirier, quote unquote,
and Jose Aldo. But yeah, and I'll even say Rob Font too. But I think that I think it's a big discrepancy in speed and distance and things like that. So let's see if he gets this first round knockout or not, man. Let's see if he can go 15 minutes. But Randy Costa is going to be my pick.
Let me say some other things about this matchup. Tony Kelley was dealing with a rotator cuff surgery, so we'll see how that impacts him. But then also a couple days ago, I heard an interview with Randy Costa with Brendan Fitzgerald, UFC commentator, and it sounded to me like Randy doesn't really it wasn't his goal to be a fighter. It was actually like, how he holds the picture of his buddy. It was his buddy's dream to be a fighter, which, by the way, shout out to Randy. That's so admirable that you give your buddy shine. Like we truly respect it. But back to the mentality talk. Randy was talking to Brendan Fitzgerald about how, back in his amateur days when he was getting his hands wrapped up, he told Joe Lozon, he started crying. He's like, dude, I can't do this. Like, dude, I gotta go. Like, dude, like this isn't for me. And then he goes out there and knocks the guy out in 50 seconds. Right. So what I'm trying to get at is that I still, no matter what, have questions if this turns into a real fight where Randy's getting hit too, or Randy's tired. It's 1-1 going in that third round. Who has to dig deep? That's where I think Kelley's got that Louisiana toughness about him. But I can't sit here and debate with you. Randy is the longer guy. Randy is the more talented guy. Randy's the more athletic guy, and he's very unorthodox with his setups. The mentality is where I got all my questions at. So let's see what happens. Next up in the featherweight division, this should be interesting, Shaq. We got Ryan Hall, who's 8-2, taking on Darrick Minner, who's 26-12. And currently they got Ryan Hall minus 200. The comeback on Darrick Minner's plus 170. So, I mean, Darrick Minner, he finally won a decision against Charles Rosa. We thought he maybe got over the hump, but then the very next fight against Elkins does the classic Minner, goes balls to the wall, has nothing left, gets finished. And in this fight, it's like, can Darrick Minner switch it up? Because, like, he's a guy that's had so many goddamn fights. Can he switch it up, come out here, strike with Ryan Hall, avoid hitting the mat? It's just that Darrick Minner's strength is on the mat. He's got 22 wins by submission, and he's the kind of guy that he doesn't give a fuck who you are. I mean, I saw him in there with Herbert Burns. He was trying to take Herbert Burns back. So that to me just lets me know that he doesn't care that he's in there with Ryan Hall, the credentialed jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's probably going to go in there and try to grapple with him too. And I think as a result, he's probably going to get submitted. So I'm curious to see what happens if these guys don't grapple and it becomes a stand-up fight, because then you got the spin kicks of Ryan Hall versus, I guess, more, meat and potato striking by Darrick Minner. But this should be fun. Give me Ryan Hall via some kind of leg lock.
Yeah, it's a tough fight because there's no way in hell I'm playing Ryan Hall at minus 200 because, I mean, that last fight was honestly an embarrassment. Like, he looked, I mean, even pretty much, I mean, he's got a specialty. He's a leg locker. Minner's had a long, extensive history of whooping guys and then getting tapped out, but he does have some good wins, like over everyone's favorite Terrence McKinney. He tapped, he's got a bunch of submissions. I know he's tapped out
Clay Collard.
Yeah, he's tapped out plenty of guys like that have been around. So he's also a submission specialist. It's just this guy just he does dumb things, like, but at the same time, I don't think it's gonna take much to knock Ryan Hall out. Like, I think that Ryan Hall has a foot out the door. I think that, I mean, these jiu-jitsu guys, man, they don't really need this. I have a feeling that Darrick Minner might be a little bit hungrier. And let's not forget, man, Darren Elkins. I know he lost to Ryan Hall, but I think he was in a tough time. But Darren Elkins is like the king of the comebacks, man. I mean, he's done that to plenty of people.
Ask Mirsad.
Yeah, ask Mirsad. Ask MJ. I mean, there's a bunch of dudes he's done. I remember Diego Brandao back in the day. This dude was getting smashed on like bad 10-8 first round, and then
is my boy Cub about to drop him and then get choked out?
It's a good chance. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Ryan Hall too, just because, I mean, this guy's history. I mean, I don't know if he's smart enough to stay out of the leg lock, but from a betting perspective, it would be Minner or pass to me.
Next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Alex Perez. He's 24-6, taking on Matt Schnell, who is 15-6. And currently, they got Alex Perez minus 320. The comeback on Matt Schnell is plus 260. So, listen, Alex Perez, hard calf kicks, good wrestling, one-punch knockout power, made it to a title fight with Figueiredo. Got a lot of respect for him. Matt Schnell, decent footwork, calf kicks. His hands, for point fighting standards are pretty decent. Also opportunistic jiu-jitsu game. I mean, you've seen him catch a couple people with some nice guillotines. It's just my issue here is Matt Schnell kind of getting bullied, like he did in that last fight against Bonsarin. I think that's where Alex Perez could kind of take advantage. And then there has been some chin issues from Schnell in the past that, we got to be very aware about. It hasn't happened in a while, but that doesn't mean it can't happen again. My only issue with Alex Perez is that, sometimes he's a bit of a meathead, and he's been caught with multiple submissions. It's not just the Figueiredo fight. So, he shoots in on a bad takedown, and Schnell could snatch something up. But I think that Alex kind of has him a little covered everywhere, and especially in the physicality here. So give me Alex to either knock out Schnell or grind out a decision. I'm leaning towards the decision, though.
Yeah, I like Alex Perez. Look, Schnell's talented, tough, also from Louisiana. It's just, man, I feel like every time, but look, the odds are, way in Perez's favor. Maybe this is a good time, but I just feel like every time he fights, like he's fighting a top 5 guy, you know what I'm saying? He just gets dominated. Like, even the last one, Bonsarin missed weight, looked like shit, and I mean, he still went out there and dominated Schnell. And Alex Perez, I mean, yeah, I think he's top 5. I mean, he lost to Benavidez and Figueiredo. That's it, right?
In the UFC.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, in the UFC, I mean, he lost to 2 legends. Other than that, man, he's pretty much dominated everybody else. Beat Formiga.
Beat Jose Torres back when Jose Torres
was undefeated. Like absolutely put him in the ground too. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Alex Perez. I just think he's better everywhere, stronger, more physical. I think he can submit Schnell too. I mean, I remember he put what's his name to sleep. Who did he put to sleep? Oh, Jordan Espinosa. Yeah, that was a vicious submission. I mean, Espinosa was snoring.
Real quick, you see Adam Antolin beat Alex Perez. What's a prayer choke?
No idea.
I'm gonna have to ask my professor what the hell that is.
Adam Antolin beat Casey Kinney too, right?
Yeah, that was the controversial one, but he still got the dub. Yeah. So, all right, both on Alex Perez there. So next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Erin Blanchfield. She's 7-1, taking on Miranda Maverick, who is 9-3. And currently they got Miranda Maverick. Depends where you look. -130. The comeback on Erin Blanchfield's +115. I gotta be honest with you, man. I bet on Miranda Maverick both her last two fights against Gillian and against Macy. Thought she had decent performances in both. She's young, she's getting better every single time out. She's very strong. I mean, she's a farm girl, so she's got that natural strength. And she's a very cerebral individual. I think I forget exactly what she's studying for, like to become a doctor or some shit like that. But basically, she's a very intelligent individual. But I gotta tell you what, man, I was pretty damn impressed with Erin Blanchfield. Like, I get she was in there with Sarah Alpar. I understand that. But look how she treated Sarah Alpar. And then also the other thing I like about Blanchfield is that if you look at her regional people she's been fighting, I mean, she's beat Kay Hansen. She had a very closely contested fight with Tracy Cortez. Victoria Leonardo, who's in the UFC, head kick knockout. I mean, so we've seen head kick knockouts. We've seen Americana submissions. I mean, we've seen her go the full 3 rounds and land at a high clip. So, I mean, which of these two prospects do you think has the higher ceiling? Who do you think wins this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I like Blanchfield. I saw her fight back in the day with Cortez. I mean, you can make a legitimate case for her winning that fight. It comes down to the first round, I believe. And then Maverick, Maverick solid, man. Solid everywhere. Good kickboxing. I don't want to get too deep into because I did have a bet on Macy Barber, but like I say, man, like you can't be a follower and just listen to DC or and Bisping. I actually think Bisping's good. He just sucks at scoring fights, man. He just but like, dude, if you actually watch the Barber fight, man, it's not a robbery. Like the second round is what it comes down to, in my opinion. And yeah, she took her back at the end, but it's not 2006 and 7 where you get one takedown and you automatically win. Like, what about the other minutes? Like, if you actually watch, like, Maverick did not land clean on Macy besides like a few times. Like, all her punches were off the shoulders, arms. Like, Macy was definitely a little bit hesitant, but in my opinion, I just don't think it was a robbery. I think it was a close fight. Could have went either way. If Maverick would have won, that would have been fine. But like, I just don't see it as that type of robbery, man. Like, you got to actually watch it. And Blanchfield, man, super talented. I think she has the higher ceiling between the two. But, everybody's got to take a loss at some point in their career. And, yeah, don't be a follower, man. I think that, Maverick, I mean, as of right now, what I've seen, I have to lean with her just because, she's fought, Macy Barber and just slightly better opponents. It's not that much, not that much better, but I feel like she might have a slightly better kickboxing. Blanchfield, it's tough to say just because like this time there's gonna be pushback. I think Sarah Alpar was, she got her Jake Paul money and she was, pretty much set. So I think that I think Maverick has slightly better kickboxing. Blanchfield is slightly better on the mat. This fight kind of just strikes me as like a close split decision, like another close fight where you're not 100% sure who won at the end. But I'm gonna go with Miranda Maverick. I just hope she's still not hung on this last fight, because if she is, then it's gonna be detrimental a little bit. But I could see Blanchfield winning. But I just think that Maverick throws a lot more on the feet against like something like Macy Barber is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? I don't think like besides Tracy, I don't think anybody else that Blanchfield has fought, is anything special, man. Definitely talented though, 100%. But I think there's gonna be real pushback this time. So I'm gonna lean Miranda Maverick to win a close decision.
Yeah, I mean, look, I could see it going that way, but I'm on the opposite side here. And I like Miranda. Like I said, better her last two fights. The Barber fight all comes down to round two. I agree. Round one, Maverick. Round three, Barber. Round two, Barber won most of the round until the end where Maverick took her back. So it's like, what do you favor more? But, rewatching it, at the time I was so pissed, but rewatching it wasn't that big of a deal. And I don't give a fuck what the media members who have no idea what they're watching.
Bro, they're scoring. People are scoring rounds for Rob Font in the media. So like, did he lose every round? I thought so.
Rob Font got his ass beat.
Got beat up, dude. Like, what round did he win? Like, or people were like saying it was 48-47 on two cards, but bro, if you don't think
it was,
I'm talking about Vieira versus Misha Tate. I had it 50-45, maybe 49-46 at the worst. And if you don't think those judges can hear DC in them, man, you know how loud DC in them talk. Like they're casuals. They just, if something's close, they're just gonna side with DC. Oh, well, it's DC, he's right, but I think so what if the media scored it for Maverick, man?
The media don't matter. The three judges watching are the ones that matter. Unfortunately, it's like Adelaide Bird and Chris Lee, but so what?
Chris Lee scored it for Maverick. So.
I mean, you got to come out here and cap based off what these guys are going to see, not what based off some fat media member eating Cheetos. Thanks. But anyways, I'm going Erin Blanchfield here. I mean, Shaq said he thinks it's going to be a close split decision type fight. So if that's the case, I mean, then I think I got value on the plus 135 I took on Erin Blanchfield earlier this week. I think the striking can be even. I think that Blanchfield has a little more volume, whereas Miranda might have a little more pop. And then on the mat, I've seen Miranda taken down more than once. Now, granted, look, Miranda's a brown belt jiu-jitsu. Erin Blanchfield's a black belt. My only concern is Blanchfield's a little bit on the smaller side, but man, there's something about her I like. I love the aggression. I love that she's willing to work for all 15 minutes. She's tough as nails. She fought like some respectable competition outside the UFC, so it's not like this is her first, real test. She's been tested before. So I like what I see, and at dog odds, I'm willing to roll the dice. So give me Erin Blanchfield to win this decision. Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Andre Muniz, Sergio Pano. He's 21-4, taking on Eryk, your boy Anders, who is 14-5. And currently they got Andre Muniz minus 140. The comeback on Eryk Anders is plus 120. I do see a plus 125 as well. This should be a great fight, man. I mean, listen, Andre Muniz, we know exactly what he wants to do. He's got nasty jiu-jitsu, some of the best in the middleweight division. There's also, I love that blast double he hit on Cachoeira. And even though he doesn't, throw that much on the feet, when he does throw, he's got some hard kicks. He's got some decent hands. So I'd say, I mean, the guy's had 25 pro fights, so he knows what to expect in all areas. And Eryk Anders, I mean, talk about a guy who, his third UFC fight, he's already in a main event with Machida in Brazil, right? So he's been thrown to the wolves. The guys that give Eryk Anders problems, similar to Pedro Munhoz, are the point fighters. And whether it was Elias, whether it was Jocko, whether it was Machida, and Andre Muniz simply isn't that guy. We know what Andre Muniz wants to do, and I love Andre Muniz. His jiu-jitsu is so goddamn good. It's just that I think he's going to have a hard time taking Eryk Anders down. And look, Eryk Anders is a brown belt. Look, he's not a black belt like Muniz. No questions asked. If they put on the gis together, Andre's going to, submit him. It's just that here in MMA, I think Eryk's jiu-jitsu is good enough to where he can keep the fight standing, or he can survive the bad spots with Andre on the mat. And then on the feet, sometimes we complain about Eryk not throwing enough. I think Eryk actually throws more than Andre Muniz. So I think there's a spot where Eryk can sprawl and brawl, keep it standing, land the harder shots, possibly get a knockout, but if not, win the decision. So give me Eryk Anders to upset someone I respect very much in Andre Muniz.
Yeah, man, I've been trying to tell everyone about Muniz. I mean, I tried to tell you he's better at jiu-jitsu than Cachoeira, man. I was like, nah, there's a new best black belt in the middleweight division. Anders is very durable. I actually think this is a tougher match than the one he had originally versus the South African guy. What's his name? Duplessis.
Duplessis.
Yeah. Just because Eric's very durable, man.
And because Duplessis in bad spots every single fight, to begin with.
Yeah, well, I just think he's just bigger and stronger, and his last 2 fights is a step in the right direction. So, I definitely think this is a tougher matchup. I don't know if this is the right time to play Muniz, but I do think that he's got a lot of tricks up his sleeves in terms of the grappling. And I mean, I'm glad Eryk finally left that gym he was at, man, because the Jocko performance was that was bad. I think even some of his other fights, I thought, when you look at him in GM3 or him in Jocko, you would think Eric's gonna run over this guy. And I always said for a while that he's like a middleweight that tries to fight like a bantamweight. But then now he's with Santino, he's with Eddie Cha. These dudes are running his camp now. So I expect to see the best version of Eryk. This is a tough fight to pick just because, I agree. I think, man, just look how big he is. On fight night, he's probably gonna be in the 2 somewhere, you know what I'm saying? So it's going to be hard to control a big guy like that down. I don't recall him ever getting submitted, right?
Never.
Yeah.
And rarely gets taken down,
yeah,
too.
Yeah, exactly. He's a big boy, especially if his mind is turned on to be a bully like the last 2 fights. It could definitely be problems for Muniz. But, yeah, I would not play Muniz. I don't think this is the fight, but I am going to pick him to win. I just think his jiu-jitsu he doesn't have to necessarily get on top of him. He can fight off his back as well. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy's jiu-jitsu is that good, man. Has Jacare ever been subbed in the UFC? I mean,
no, but I mean, Jacare, how old is Jacare? And also, Jacare didn't tap. Got to give my boy credit. Did not tap. 10 seconds left in the round. Probably thought, hey, he ain't going to get me with this shit. And then the arm snapped.
You tell me somebody else is that a sub Jacare. So I think, and it was in the first round too. Treated him like a 40-year-old, So I'm going to go with Andre Muniz. I think he might have to go 15 minutes for this one, but I don't think his stand-up's bad at all, man. I think he can throw. I mean, obviously you don't want to throw too much with a guy like Anders, but he's very smart in there. Good fight IQ, in my opinion. Even 1 rounds off his back, in his debut. So, we'll see what happens in there, man. But I'm going to go with Andre Muniz.
Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Bruno Blindado Silva. He's 21-6, taking on Jordan, the Beverly Hills Ninja Wright, who is 12-2. Currently, they got Bruno Silva minus 345. The comeback on Jordan Wright is plus 285. So, man, I mean, so for a lot of people that haven't seen Bruno Silva past his first 2 UFC fights, you got to go back because, firstly, he's Brazilian. The reason I bring that up is he went over to Russia to M1, won their belt. I mean, he knocked out Alexander Shlemenko, who's, a dude we've been watching 10 plus years, who's a legend in Russian MMA, just in MMA in general. He was a Bellator champ. He was an M1 champ. Alexander Shlemenko has accomplished a lot. And then after that, knocks out Artem Frolov. And it was funny because there was a whole thing amongst hardcores where it was there was Artem Lobov, who was 15-15, but then there was Artem Frolov, who was 11-0. And Artem Frolov was at a point where he wins a couple more fights. He's about to get signed to the UFC. And Bruno Silva derailed those plans in a way where we never heard from Artem Frolov ever since. Finally comes to the UFC, deals with some bullshit. Was supposed to fight Deron Winn. Man, I still wish that fight happened because you already know what would have happened there. But, man, deals with his first 2 opponents accordingly. Yeah, had to overcome Andrew Sanchez trying to put his head between his legs for a couple of minutes, but there was only 1 person landing punches in that fight, and only 1 person got knocked out standing in that fight. So anyways, he's been doing his thing. Now he's got the Beverly Hills Ninja. The Beverly Hills Ninja is going to come out with some hard shit in the early going. I mean, offensively speaking, I can't criticize him. The guy's got some great techniques. He's big for the weight class. He's explosive. He's a finisher. It's just, I know he can give it, but I don't think he can take it, and you have to be able to take it against Bruno Blindado. When he starts ripping to the body, when he starts going upstairs, when he starts mixing in those disgusting knees, bodies tend to hit the floor, and I think another body will hit the floor Saturday night. So give me Bruno Blindado Silva to knock out Jordan Wright.
Yeah, Jordan Wright looked good his last fight. He put Pickett in the ground, rather easily, man. So I'm sure he's his most confident. But the fight before against Young Buck, he kind of just was very tense in that pocket. I mean, Joaquin ain't the tallest guy. Maybe the height was confusing him a little bit, but I didn't like what I saw in there. He looked very tense when they were exchanging punches, kind of plotty, slow a little bit. But I know he's got a good highlight reel of knockouts on his resume from LFA. But I just think Bruno Silva is just a different animal, man. I just think. His last fight, Andrew Sanchez, that's like a good prospect test. And he could have accepted the takedowns and been like, man, this guy ain't trying to fight. But, he was able to deal with it, got his black belt as well after the fight, and knocked Andrew Sanchez out. And the Wellington Thurman fight knocked him out as well with the ground and pound. So, yeah, I think he's going to knock Jordan Wright out probably in the first round.
Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Augusto Sakai, he's 15-3, taking on Tai Tuivasa, who is 13-3. Currently, they got, depends where you look, minus 110 apiece. I also see minus 115 Tuivasa, minus 105 Sakai. So either a dead pick'em or a pick'em with a slight lean on Tuivasa. What's your take on this fight? I mean, two heavyweights going to go out there. I'd say Sakai, the more methodical guy. Tuivasa has that old school Mark Hunt style, big left hooks, big leg kicks, just always down the brawl. Should be a hell of a fight. How you see it going down?
Yeah, I agree with the line. I mean, just because Tuivasa, he kind of been getting wobbled a lot lately, but he's tough. He was able to come back and knock Greg Hardy out. Sakai, the last performance was not good against Jairzinho, and he lost to Overeem. So he's got to be hungry. He's got to, you don't want to lose 3 in a row. It's tough one. I agree with it being a pick 'em. I can't really see a decided advantage for either side. But Tuivasa's on a 2-fight win streak. I heard he stopped 3-fight winning streak. I heard he stopped drinking a little bit. I heard he during camp he changed his diet up a little bit. I think he's with AKA and stuff like that. So maybe Tuivasa is trying.
I don't think he made it to AKA. He was trying to, but there's some bullshit going on in Australia.
Well,
so
the last few fights he's been at AKA, he could take what he learned there, and you know what I'm saying. As where Sakai, man, that last performance was a little, peculiar to me. I was like, man, I thought he would look a little, at least the fight would be more competitive. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to slightly lean with Tuivasa. I think this one will go 3 rounds. I think they'll both be, very not hesitant, but just respectful of each other. And I think Tuivasa will slightly edge it out.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that you were on Tuivasa. I thought you were going to pick Sakai, but I'm on Tuivasa as well. Look, I know that an extended kind of slow, methodical fight favors Sakai. If this is kind of a split decision, then you should kind of lean towards Sakai. But Sakai got his chin checked these last 2 fights, and coming back from that, you got to question where his confidence is at. And like Tai Tuivasa is one of the last guys that you want to check if, can I still take these shots like I used to? Tuivasa can bang, and he's down to fight with anybody. So, an extended fight kind of favors Sakai, in my opinion, but I think there's a chance Tuivasa might get him out of there early. I wanted to see Sakai kind of get a pick-me-up fight, but at the same time, Tuivasa is ranked below him. So in a sense, that is what this is, but tough division, man. Give me Tuivasa. Not sure if it's going to be a knockout, but I think he can have some big moments in the fight that sway it towards his favor. So give me Tuivasa for the win as well. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Pedro Pedrinho Munhoz. He's 19-6, the young Punisher. How old is my boy, the young Punisher? 35 years old is the young Punisher. Taking on the legend Dominick Cruz, who was 23-3. And currently they got, it depends where you look, but currently they got Pedro Munhoz minus 115. The comeback on Dominick Cruz is plus 100. So there's finally a little bit of dog money on Cruz here. And I see this as a spot where, look, Pedro Munhoz is tough as nails, man. Like, Pedro Munhoz can knock people out with one punch. His calf kick game is disgusting. He's got the nastiest guillotine choke in all of the bantamweight division. He's got the resume to back it up. He finished Rob Font in the first round. He finished Cody Garbrandt in the first round. He's had, do you remember the kind of beatdown he gave Brett Johns, man? This dude, Pedro Munhoz. And in all his fights that he loses, most of them tend to be pretty competitive. I know Jose Aldo put a clinic on him, but man, here's my issue with Pedro is that similar to Eryk Anders, for whatever reason, he just does not do good against point fighters, man. I mean, the reason being is, he gets hit 6 times per minute. And I just don't think you can get hit 6 times per minute and beat Dominick Cruz in a fight. Look, I know Dominick Cruz, you could make an argument that is towards the latter part of his career. I mean, he's already is he a 2-time or 3-time world champ? I mean, bottom line, I mean, this guy has got so many belts at his house. He invented that crazy footwork style that guys like TJ Dillashaw, guys like Corey Sandhagen all emulated. I mean, Dominick Cruz is a true pioneer. And I think that Dominick Cruz is still fighting competitively these days, man. The only questionable performance he had was the Garbrandt one. Aside from that, I thought he looked decent against Cejudo. He was just in there with triple goat. And then the last one against Casey Kenny, that was a great fight to go out there and get his confidence back. So the path to victory for Munhoz here is, I mean, he's got to obviously chop down the legs of Dominick Cruz and get that movement start to slow down. Once he does that, go upstairs with something big. But this is in the larger octagon. It's at T-Mobile. It's not at the Apex. So there's going to be more room for Dominick Cruz to run and do his footwork. And I just see Pedro Munhoz swinging at Erin in this fight and Dominick Cruz winning another one of his point fighting based decisions. So give me Dominick Cruz to upset Pedro Munhoz here Saturday night.
Yeah, he does not do good against point fighters. Let's not forget the John Dodson fight back in the day. Let's the
Sunsao, Edgar,
Frankie Edgar, like these guys ended up coming back on him and touching him up, man. And Dom already mentioned, I already know what he's gonna do. He's gonna try to chop my legs down just like everyone does. So I'm sure Dom's prepared for that style. And man, I feel like Pedro is a little bit on of a dip. I think he's also towards the end of his career. Like, look, if you Frankie Edgar's a legend, a future Hall of Famer, but like you can't be top 10 if you're. I mean, I don't want to disrespect Frankie, but that was a bad performance down the stretch in that fight. I mean, he let that lead go that was bad in my opinion.
And let me say something real quick. Had that been a 3-round fight, the judges would have still gave it to Edgar if you look at the scorecards.
And Dominick Cruz, man, is especially if you're a headhunter and you're trying to swing big punches at him. I mean, he dodges those like nothing. Even if you watch the Cejudo fight, I mean, Cejudo was struggling to hit him in the head with punches. I mean, it was a knee that ended up getting him. And he ended up getting stopped. Now, I know he still thinks Keith Peterson was drunk and, smoking Marlboros outside like that. But I agree, man. I think he's not going to touch Dom not that much. Now, Dom definitely is getting older. He got rocked by Casey Kenny in their fight. But he was still able to keep his composure and maintain his cool and make Casey Kenny kind of look silly down the stretch, man. That third round, I mean, he taught Casey Kenny a lesson, man. It was like a big vet lesson in that third round. And Casey Kenny probably shouldn't have been saying the shit he was saying that week. I know he had a lot of shit going on.
Well, you talking about what he said about his coworker?
She's not a coworker. But at the time, I guess, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Dom Cruz just by being elusive, evading these punches. He's gonna eat some leg kicks on the calf and things like that, but I think he's prepared for that. Don't forget that title shot when TJ had his legs in trouble. He still kept fighting, man. This guy, Dom, is very, very tough. And I know, he's also said some things this weekend, but he just had to speak his mind, man. I mean, I've had to do that too recently, man. The night that DC was commenting Ketlin and Misha, I was like, okay, I like this stuff is getting bad, man. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Dom Cruz to whether it's a split decision, unanimous decision. I don't see Pedro beating him by points. I think it almost might be a situation where Pedro has to hurt him multiple times or knock him out to win this fight. So I'm gonna go with Dom.
And speaking of the Edgar one, I mean, again, Edgar, one of my all-time favorite fighters. I would never say this with any kind of disrespect, just trying to factually speak and just bring up the fact that, Edgar's been knocked out brutally in 3 of his last 4. The one guy who couldn't do it was Munhoz, and which was surprising, was very surprising. I thought, Munhoz is a guy that hit Rob Font so hard that Rob Font shot a takedown on the guy with the best guillotine in the division. Munhoz is a guy knocked out Garbrandt. He's got that one-hitter quitter. I was surprised to your credit, it is a drop down. The fact that he wasn't able to knock out Edgar in 5 rounds, Shaq.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, sometimes you get old. He's 35 years old now. He's never really evolved like how you would think he would have.
Eats a lot of punches.
Still, some from day one. That's all he eats, a lot of punches. And, sometimes these older guys, once you hit 35, you can't react like how you used to when you were 27 and 28. Like back in the day, Pedro could take a bat to the head and be completely fine. But he's always struggled. Like even the Aljamain fight, but he got pointed up, man. So I feel like it's a consistent weakness throughout his whole career.
Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a match between Josh Emmett, he's 16-2, taking on Dan Ige, who is 15-4. And currently, they got Josh Emmett minus 150, Shaq. The comeback on Dan Ige is plus 130, plus 135, plus 140, depending where you look. I'm gonna let you take this one first because I know, historically speaking, you've been very high on Emmett, and you respect Ige, but you've questioned certain things about how far he can take it. So how do you see this matchup going with Josh Emmett's first fight back from a major surgery?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't put that much stock into, because I remember when he came back from the Jeremy Stevens fight, where they said you remember what happened to him in that Jeremy Stevens fight. He got knocked out, then illegally kneed, and he came back and knocked out Michael Johnson. So he's dealt with these long layoffs before and come back. But yeah, I've always been higher on Emmett. Ige is a tough guy. He does shell up very well, because in that Calvin fight, he definitely might have won like 1 round, but he does shell up nice and to try to avoid the damage. But he has been dropped several times in his UFC career, but he has been more active. I think like that last fight where Burgos just showed what Emmett's all about, man. I think he's willing to take more chances. I mean, in my opinion, he's the hardest hitter at 145. Not the best striker, but just hardest hitter with the punches. And he's on a 3-fight winning streak right now, and his volume is pretty good as well. So he can swing those big things all night long, man. That Michael Johnson knockout was in the 3rd round as well, if I'm not mistaken. So he got Mersad out of there in the 1st round. I just think he's the better fighter. Granted, he's coming off a layoff, but just because I've seen him come off layoffs before and knock guys out, I'm going to pick him to get this win. I think Ige is a little bit of an overachiever. I definitely didn't ever see him hitting the rankings, and props to him that he did. But I like the Edson Barbosa fight, he definitely outworked him, but it wasn't Edson, his volume's limited. He can be broken very easily. No offense, Edson, a legend of the sport. Not trying to disrespect him, but if we're gonna sit here and act like Edson Barbosa hasn't been, outworked and broken before, and that's by even lesser guys too in the past. So I'm gonna go with Josh Emmett to knock him out, man. I think if Josh Emmett touches his chin clean, I see Ige hitting the deck or flopping and being very hesitant like the Calvin fight. So I'm gonna go with Josh Emmett here to get back on track.
Look, Ige is a tough, battle-tested Hawaiian warrior, man. He's got one punch knockout power. You saw what he did to Gavin Tucker. But he's mainly known for that ground game of his. So, the offensive traits from Ige I like a lot. It's just some of the defensive things is where I have the issue. He does block a lot of punches with his face. He has a tendency to take off round 2 every single fight. Sometimes he'll pull guard. Those are the kind of things you don't want to see. But, again, he's got a puncher's chance, and he's experienced. He's been in there. He's been in 5-round main events. So, more than once. Got outclassed both times, but so what? The guy, he gets back up and he tries again. So I respect him a lot. The thing about Emmett, he is incredibly impressive. And the reason being is when you think about a guy with his physique and his fighting style, like you look at like a short, stocky, muscle-bound guy, and you talk about the one-punch knockout power. You talk about the fact he's got the most knockdowns in featherweight history, Shaq. So it kind of creates this narrative, well, is he KO or bust? And I'm here to tell you, not only is he not KO or bust, but his volume is absolutely ridiculous. When was the last time you saw a power puncher go out there and attempt 266 strikes in a 3-round fight. And you want to take it a step further because historically speaking, like you look at guys that came from that camp, whether it was Chad Money Mendez, and yeah, he's got, at the time, I know you remember this, people were calling him the Mike Tyson of the featherweight division. But I know you remember people calling him that.
Yeah. Was he calling himself that?
People were literally saying some shit like that. But the issue with Mendez would be like he'd have these fast starts. He'd tend to slow down the stretch, right? If he couldn't knock you out. When you look at this guy, Josh Emmett, he goes out there against Shane Burgos, who has insane volume, and Josh Emmett's strike output increases as the fight progresses. So he lands more in round 2 than he lands in round 1. He lands more in round 3 than he lands in round 2, and he gets the knockdowns in round 3. So this is a guy that's dangerous for all 15 minutes standing. And then to take it a step further, he's got this wrestling background too. So I think Josh Emmett's a bad matchup for Dan Ige. He opened -200. He's currently -150. I think there's a hell of a lot of value there. So give me Josh Emmett to make a triumphant return against Dan Ige this Saturday night. Now, before we talk about the main card, because we're going to talk about Sean O'Malley versus Raulian Paiva, got to give a big shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks. So guys, PrizePicks, in my opinion, is the easiest way to make money on daily fantasy sports. Basically, they have a projection and you decide if they're right or wrong. You know what I mean? And you don't have to deal with thousands of stats nerds who have these lineup optimizers, and you have to pray to get that optimal lineup and hope that you hit that 6 team, and man, then you can win big, if you do better than thousands upon thousands of people. But here with PrizePicks, it's literally just go on their site, see what you disagree with, and take full advantage. Like last week, for example, Brendan Allen and Louis Smolka, their significant strikes were set at like over under like 50 or 60 or something like that. And I'm thinking to myself, these guys are grapplers, like these guys. So I was like, okay, I'm automatically smashing those unders. That came through, and I would pay attention. Some of the spots I like to take advantage of are when they take grapplers, like I said, like Brendan Allen, like Smolka, and they set their significant strikes over under way too high. So this weekend, pay attention where they set Gillian Robertson, because Gillian Robertson ain't going to put up strike numbers. She's either going to get takedowns and subs or not, but the strike numbers are going to be on the lower side. So if that significant strikes over under for Gillian Robertson is at like 50 or something like that, smash that under. I'm telling you right now. So all Half the Battle listeners will receive an 100% instant deposit match up to $100 using the code BATTLE at prizepicks.com or download the PrizePicks app. PrizePicks is the simplest fantasy game on the market. You pick 2 to 5 players and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. So like I said, you don't have to just have that 6-fighter lineup. You can do a 2-fighter lineup, 3, 4, 5, or mixed sports. They got no sharks, optimizers, mass multi-entries, literally just you versus the projection. And like I said, mixed sports entries. So take the under on Gillian Robertson, take the over on Dustin Poirier, and then take an under on NFL. You think Matt Ryan's going to fuck up this week? Take the under on him, Shout out to my boy Matty Ice. PrizePicks has a slick, easy-to-use mobile app, both on the App Store and Google Play. They got a 4.8 star rating in the App Store with fantastic reviews. So guys, go to prizepicks.com, use the code BATTLE for an 100% deposit match up to $100, and give them a try today. I wholeheartedly stand by what I said, that PrizePicks is the easiest way to win money on daily fantasy sports. So take advantage of these projections that you disagree with and use the code BATTLE for that deposit match. Now, Shaq, kicking off the main card, we got Sugar Sean O'Malley. He's 14-1, taking on Raulian Paiva, who's 21-3. And currently, they got Sugar Sean -300. The comeback on Raulian is +250. So, I mean, listen, I respect the fact that Sugar Sean's taking a tough fight here, man. People don't think that Raulian's a tough fight, but me and you know he is. Ever since that debut against Cachoeira, France, fantastic effort over there in New Zealand. He's had some really good results along the way. The Kyler Phillips fight, I mean, you saw the kind of adversity this guy's willing to overcome. Raulian Paiva is long. Now, he's not going to be longer than Sean O'Malley, but he was very long at flyweight, had to move up, man. I mean, that cut from bantamweight to flyweight, that cut to flyweight in general, just, I mean, we're going to talk about that in that next fight with Cody Garbrandt, but that cut is one of the most notorious cuts in the history of the sport. Raulian had to move up. comes in there against Kyler Phillips, gets a ranked win off the bat. Had to almost died, but ends up coming out strong, getting the win. Here he's got Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, long striker, diverse striker. And it's an O'Malley fight, so there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of eyeballs on this fight. So, Shaq, I mean, you think Raulian Paiva can drag this into deep waters, maybe get on top of Sean, make him actually have to fight? Or is it going to be target practice for Sean O'Malley here?
You know, the early going could be target practice. I know O'Malley. I know he's really not, mentioning Paiva too much this week, but I know he knows what's up. He beat his homeboy his last fight, Kyler Phillips. Him and O'Malley are good friends. And, Raulian's got the heart of a lion, man. If you leave this kid hanging around, he will get to you at some point. I think Raulian can do a couple things that make it easier. He's got to switch his style up and go more to the low kicks. I mean, we know that O'Malley's had problems with his legs in the past, and we know O'Malley's got sharper hands. I mean, his timing is definitely a little sharper than Raulian's. Raulian, I don't understand like this narrative that O'Malley is not fighting good opponents, man, is a little bit foolish to me. I think it's some casual shit, but look, he's the last fight, the green hair guy that he fought, I mean, he didn't fight. Somebody pulled out. Like, he had to. Who was he supposed to fight again? Smoker. So somebody ended up pulling up. Man, Smoker's lucky that didn't happen. But dude pulled out. Man, he's fought Eddie Wineland. I mean, look, Eddie's not the best, but he's still
the legend.
Is still a legend of the sport, man. Terrion Ware was at the time. I mean, I disagree with this whole. I mean, the kid's still young, man. Like, I disagree with this whole. He's fighting a flyweight. I just.
Raulian was like the biggest flyweight.
Raulian couldn't make weight, and I see a lot of narratives saying Raulian's honestly lost 3 of his last 4. I'm like, guys, like, come on, like, y'all really thought he lost to Zalgas? Like, bro, first off. Okay, people are saying he got outstruck by he got outstruck by Zalgas. Well, like, so what? Jose Aldo got outstruck by Rob Font. You tell me, but there's a difference with who's landing harder, who's moving forward. Like, Rob Font outstruck Jose Aldo by a shit ton. And so that's why y'all are scoring rounds for. Okay, I get it now. But I think that I just think it's gonna be a tough fight. I think O'Malley might have to go 15 minutes in this one. Look, yeah, he's gonna hurt Raulian early. I mean, Raulian leaves his chin up in the air a little bit. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna get touched, but man, this kid Raulian, I've always liked something about him, man, especially in wars. We'll see if O'Malley can take it. I definitely think O'Malley should be favored, but from a betting perspective, it's dog or pass, because I just think there's certain things that Raulian could do to make this a little bit easier for himself, like go to the leg kicks. We'll see if he does it. But even look at that last fight, man. Like, there's no quit in this kid. He got dropped like twice in the first round, and he comes back, drops Kyler Phillips, and let's not forget Kyler Phillips beat Song Yadong, man. Like that, you can't just discredit that win like he's nothing. Nothing that he hasn't done anything. So I'm gonna go. Look, I'm gonna pick O'Malley to probably win a decision. I think he probably will touch Raulian up a lot, but I think from a betting perspective, it's dog or pass.
Firstly, Raulian Paiva has the second best fight in Contender Series history. You guys got to check out his fight with Alan Nascimento, who made his debut against Tajir Ulanbekov, and that was a fucking great fight too. So the first best fight in Contender Series history is Sodiq Yusuff versus Mike Davis. Second best fight in Contender Series history, Raulian Paiva versus Alan Nascimento. Make sure y'all check that out. I mean, I've been impressed with Raulian this whole time, man. I mean, from the Nascimento fight, the Kai Kara France fight in his debut, a lot of us thought he might have won, but regardless, that was a fucking great back and forth fight.
Say if it wasn't in New Zealand,
right? I mean, that was at T-Mobile Arena, But Bontarin fight, unfortunate cut. He was looking good early. The Mark De La Rosa fight knocks him out. I don't think did anyone else knock out Mark De La Rosa in the UFC.
I don't know.
Zaga Zumagula. Firstly, shout out to my boy Zagas. You heard what my boy Zagas is on? You heard the kind of life my boy Zagas is living?
Nah.
Oh, he's got 2 wives and 6 kids.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of Zagas in all of us. So shout out to my boy Zagas living that life. Can't wait for
polygamist or however you
what,
say it.
yeah, the one that's
Polygamist.
yeah. We can't wait for his next fight.
I hope he gets one. He was
will.
coming at Kate, but he got tired.
He'll get another fight, man. Zagas brings it, man. And then Kyler Phillips, Kyler was like the next hot stud, man. Like Kyler was the guy that people were like, man, like this is like he looks like Jesus, right? He was like the second coming of Christ in the division. And Raulian took his ass whooping like a man in that first round, comes back in the second and third and wins those rounds, man. And whether you scored a draw or a decision for Raulian, like we can all agree, like, similar to Cachoeira, Raulian's willing to die in there. And I just don't think that O'Malley is. Now, granted, it might not reach that point, but the reason I bring it up is because if something happens to go wrong, if Raulian gets on top of O'Malley and starts dropping elbows, if Raulian deadens that nerve on that leg, which that leg's been compromised, not just in the Cheeto fight, but in the Sukhumtut fight as well, if stuff starts to not go 100% right for O'Malley, a guy like Raulian, you give him any kind of momentum, you give him an inch, he's going to take a mile. So that's why, I might be tempted to take a half unit shot on Raulian Paiva in this spot. Shout out to my boy Shaq for betting him against Kyler Phillips. Like, you see a number like that on a guy like this who's going to fight for your money, and it could pay off. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I got a similar line against Kai Kara-France. I thought I won that fight. You got a similar fight. You got a similar line against Kyler. You did win that fight. So now against O'Malley, look, I think O'Malley's going to light him up. That's the bottom line. O'Malley's going to be doing his thing, switching his stances, those long strikes, adding up the volume. Raulian does have a bit of that tall man defense. It's just, like I said,
when it's a dogfight, things get different.
Once we get past this initial part and both guys are tired, that's where I'm worried for O'Malley, because I don't have any questions about O'Malley offensively. I got questions about O'Malley defensively and mentality wise. Like, I don't know what his mindset is when he goes through adversity, and I need to find that out, and that might be tested here. So give me O'Malley, but I do agree with you that it's dog or pass, and I might take a half unit shot, but give me O'Malley for the dub, though. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a match between Kai Kara-France, he's 22-9, welcoming the former bantamweight champion Cody Garbrandt, who's 12-4, to the flyweight division. And currently, they got Cody Garbrandt. Depends where you look. -150. The comeback on Kai Kara-France is +120. So, Shaq, we've talked about this many times. That drop to flyweight, one of the most notorious cuts in the history of the sport. Guys just don't look the same. Ask Raulian Paiva why he had to move up to bantamweight. Ask Davison Figueiredo why he had to leave Brazil and go to live with Henry Cejudo, right? Like, this cut to flyweight is just different. Ask TJ Dillashaw why, like, all of a sudden his speed, his durability, everything is completely gone. Then the next fight, he fights Corey Sandhagen at bantamweight. He's eating flush knees to the chin and not going down. So I'm just saying that cut to flyweight is completely different. Now, you can make the argument, Shaq. And I'm sure you will make this argument. Cody Garbrandt's fought the better guys, whether it's the Dominick Cruzes, whether it's the TJ Dillashaws, the Rob Fonts. He's been in there with better guys than Kai Kara-France. But, we got to address this weight class. How do you think this guy performs at flyweight, where there are no breaks, where it's constant action, it's a different kind of speed, and there were already durability questions for Garbrandt. Losing those extra 10 pounds, that's going to take a little padding away from his chin. So how do you see this one going down?
Yeah, from the sounds of it, it seems like everyone is concerned about that, but I'm not going to put that much stock into it at all, just because Cody's doctor, man. This guy, we actually follow each other. His name is Matteo Capo. He's from Italy. Marvin's doctor, Giga, Dariush, like all these dudes. He was helping Lauren Murphy as well get her career back on track. So I think it's like Dr. Capo or something like that is his Twitter. But this guy, like, is a real doctor. Cody said he's been working with him for 7 months. And so it's not like a quick little thing, like a few months or 2 months, like, or weeks. Like, this has been a long process, and I think he's doing it properly. He doesn't look bad to me at all, man. I know we'll see on tomorrow, but Kai Kara-France, from the sounds of it, has a lot of narratives in his head, like, oh, he's not going to make the weight, right? And He's not going to be able to take a shot. But I don't like when fighters have these notions in their head, man. You gotta expect the best guy to come up. Every interview I hear, this guy, he's like he's gonna be done. What if he's not done after this weight cut? What if he feels fine? You know what I'm saying? And Guy Car France, we know what he does. He likes to swing that big right hand. Knocked out Bontarine. That was his last fight. But man, there's always Kai Kara. I've always questioned if he was the toughest guy, but he his last few performances, man. I mean, even in that fight with Bontarine, he was losing the whole round. Bontarine just hit that what I like to call the Nova, and he got sometimes those Brazilians need a rest, and he couldn't get it. He got cracked with a shot, man. But I've seen a Kai Kara France, like, I mean, good fighter, but sometimes like the Tyson Am fight, wasn't too impressed with that performance. The Raulian fight, he was able to get the win. He showed some heart there, I guess. What about the Raw Dog fight? I mean, he got absolutely drilled by a guy that was in second UFC fight at the time, and he got exposed with that ducking the head down. I feel like he only has a few weapons, to be honest. But I think Cody Garbrandt's going to be fine from this weight cut, just due to the doctor I was mentioning before. And I think he's going to knock Kai Kara France out in the first round, man. I think Kai Kara France, when he fights like a former champion or a someone on that high level, he gets exposed. Cody Garbrandt, I mean, at the end of the day, at bantamweight, I know he lost to Pedro Font. I just think he was getting washed out at 135s, man. I mean, you see how big Rob Font is. You see, the Pedro fight was just that was when Cody was doing. That's when Danny Castillo was like, Cody, no, like Cody, get out of there. Like, that's just more of a tactical mental error. I think if his mind is in check and he sounds like a much more pleasant guy, instead of trying to fight guys on fight week and things like that, or getting into it backstage with Peter Yan and things like that. But I think he's gonna win this fight, man. I actually think he's gonna surprise a lot of people, make a name for himself at flyweight, and we'll have a new name at flyweight, man. If Cody Garbrandt can win this fight, man, woo, they'll try to push him into a title shot real quick. So I think he was already scheduled to fight Figueiredo at one point. But he got COVID, I believe. So I'm gonna go with Cody Garbrandt to knock Kai Kara out in the first round. And I think he's gonna make a name for himself at flyweight.
Wow, yeah. I mean, I like the prediction, man. It'd be huge for the flyweight division to see a guy like Cody Garbrandt have success there. He's an immediate big name, spiked into the conversation in a blooming division. So, let's see what happens. But man, I still have my concerns about this weight class. I do agree with you. I like everything I've heard him say. Sounds like he's in a good place mentally. And I think if they fought at bantamweight, that Cody would maybe knock him out, maybe bully him and, teach him a lesson. But I don't know, man. The speed difference. And look, Cody was known for being the faster guy at bantamweight. I'm not sure he's going to be the faster guy at flyweight anymore. But I do agree that at times, Kai Kara France, he does great early, but as fights start to get tougher and tougher, he might kind of, break in fights. I mean, we noticed this back when he fought Pantoja on The Ultimate Fighter. So this is nothing new. But I'm still just sketched out about what feels kind of like a desperation move to flyweight. And I think that the speed and the durability is going to hold up on the Kai Kara France side. So give me Kai Kara France, but I feel where you're coming from too, man. Like, I can't debate your points. I just, based off the history of guys dropping a flyweight, it's sketch a lot of the time, man. And even world champions like TJ Dillashaw, and he was in there with Cejudo. I mean, we can't deny that, right? Like, there's a difference between Cejudo and Kai Kara France, but Kai's still a fast guy. Kai still has a lot of output, trains at a great camp, has the one-hitter quitter. So I see this being a competitive fight. So I'm going to go Kai Kara France for the upset here. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Jeff Neal, he's 13-4, taking on Santiago, the Argentine dagger, Ponzinibbio, who is 28-4. And currently, they got Santiago, depends where you look, but minus 130. The comeback on Jeff Neal is plus 110. So both these guys almost died, man. I mean, Jeff Neal had sepsis. He had heart failure. Santiago had a staph infection that spread badly, and it was thought that both these guys would never fight again. They came back. They both looked terrible their first fights back. I mean, Santiago and Li Jingliang did not look like the same guy. Jeff's last 2 fights does not look like the same guy, but but Santiago started to get his footing back when he fought Miguel Baeza. The first round was kind of questionable, but that second and third, I think we started to see him start to, shake off the rust a little bit, man. Finally started to look like the Santiago Ponzinibbio that we know and love. That jab that makes people think it's an eye poke, just Gunny, you can't eye poke a chin, my man. That straight right, that face plants dudes, the calf kicks, his takedown defense. Santiago Ponzinibbio is one of the best welterweights on planet Earth. And Jeff Neal, incredibly fast, southpaw, nasty high kicks, good straight punches. I love watching Jeff Neal fight. It just seems that Jeff Neal has not recovered from the unfortunate thing he went through, man. I mean, the Wonder Boy fight, I get that it's Wonder Boy, but I thought Jeff Neal might be able to match him in the speed department. The next fight against Neil Magny, I've seen tons of guys run through Neil Magny, whether it's Pons, whether it's Larkin, whether it's RDA. Jeff Neal had a decent first round, but there was a big drop off. I don't see the same speed, I just don't see the same guy that I used to. Maybe that changes here. Maybe he needed those to get those 2 fights behind him. And then there's the outside the cage shit, him getting a DUI, whatever. I mean, I don't really care much about that. I mean, I hope he's okay. Thank God he didn't get hurt. He didn't hurt anybody. So, whatever, maybe we don't know the full details. So I don't put much stock into that. But I think that Santiago Ponzinibbio right now, his last fight, he showed that he's back, and I'm not convinced Jeff Neal is. So give me Santiago Ponzinibbio to win a war of attrition here once again.
Yeah, from the sounds of it, the whole Jeff Neal outside the cage is an exaggeration. Like, the article made it seem like he's like riding around with the gun in his lap, wasted and shit. Like, Jeff's like, dude, no, like, fucking, it was Thanksgiving. He had a couple of drinks on Thanksgiving, and he decided to hop in the car and drive. Definitely a mistake, but so we all make mistakes, man. And Ponzinibbio, yeah, it looked like he woke up in that second and third round fight against Miguel. But, I feel like I don't think Miguel's on Jeff's level yet. And I think that he still has lost a step. He definitely looked good. But Miguel, has this bad problem where, he stops throwing and puts his back on the fence and kind of just stands there. It happened with Chaos as well. But yeah, I think that Ponzinibbio has the momentum. Jeff Neal hasn't looked good his last 2 fights. You just gotta wonder if he is fine. I do think he's a little faster, maybe a little bit more accurate as well. But Ponzinibbio, man, he's a little bit. Just if I go based on the last few fights, I mean, that last fight he was just a little bit more rougher, a little bit more meaner. The first fight he looked terrible, but I gotta go with Pons too. I think that he's just gonna win a war of attrition, just be a little bit more aggressive, while Jeff might be slightly still questioning himself. Man, I feel bad for Jeff, man, because his career could be taking a bad turn. From where he was a few years ago to now. I mean, now it's like, dang, I don't think he'll get cut, but one more fight and he will. But I think that I think Ponzinibbio will edge it out just by being more aggressive, a little bit more meaner, throwing more jabs. So yeah, I'll go with Pons.
Co-main event of the evening in the bantamweight division for the belt. We got the champion and the women's GOAT, Amanda Nunes. She's 21-4, taking on Juliana Pena, who is 10-4. And currently they got Amanda Nunes minus 920. The comeback on Juliana is plus 610. Juliana's been running her mouth, Shaq, and actually I'm glad she has, because let's bring more attention to this fight. Like, let's get Amanda motivated, let's get her excited. I mean, because what you got to worry about with these GOATs is they got so much to lose that sometimes they can kind of coast at times or take their foot off the pedal. What's the motivation anymore? You've accomplished everything there is to accomplish, but Juliana running her mouth the way she has, I think that will let Amanda Nunes wake up a little bit extra earlier in the mornings, get the, run that extra mile and, not cheat on her diet and just these little things to prove a point here. I think that Amanda Nunes is going to come out here and run through Juliana Pena. I mean, look, we're talking about it at minus 900, so I don't need to sit here forever and make my points. But the thing with Juliana Pena is her striking is extremely sloppy. Where she does best is when she gets on top of people. But she's been submitted in 2 of her last 4 fights, man. And I think that Amanda Nunes is going to come out here, establish that jab, the calf kicks, the big shots over the top. And when Juliana Pena shoots on a sloppy takedown from a mile out, I think that Amanda Nunes is going to sprawl on her, and I'm thinking a Darce or Anaconda choke finish in the first round. So give me Amanda Nunes to defend her belt and still.
Yeah, I always was a fan of Juliana. She's, very spicy. She likes to run her mouth a lot. That's just the way she is, man. She's making, at least like it's not like Amanda Nunes versus like Felicia Spencer or something where we're just like, oh, okay, let's just get this over with. But I'm actually excited for the fight, man, because Juliana, she is very intense. But look, let's just be honest here. There's no chance she wins this fight. I mean, it's like Amanda's better everywhere. Unless Amanda didn't train, it doesn't seem like she's gonna lose. But I'm interested to see how long Juliana can make it. But yeah, I mean, let's not forget she got subbed by, who a lot of people say has no ground game. My girl Queen GDR had to put her to sleep. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure that was GDR's first submission too. So yeah, you gotta go with Amanda Nunes here by whatever she wants.
And before we talk about the main event, everybody do us a huge favor. Smash that like button. Thank you so much. Subscribe to this channel. We truly appreciate it. Now, Shaq, we've been waiting a long time for this. Main event of the evening for the undisputed lightweight belt. We got the champ, Charles do Bronx Oliveira. He's 31-8, taking on Dustin the Diamond Poirier, who's 28-6. And currently, they got, depends where you look, minus 155 Poirier. The comeback on do Bronx is plus 135. Shaq, what an unbelievable fight, right? Like I said at the beginning of the show, you got the guy with the most submissions in UFC history, most bonuses, and Charles Oliveira taking on the guy, the lightweight knockout king. Dustin has the most knockouts in lightweight history. And the resumes on these two, the performances, just everything. This is truly one of the best title fights we've ever had in the history of the sport. I can see this being the kind of rivalry where these guys end up fighting, 2-3 times. Charles Oliveira, it's not just the fact that he's got the most submissions in UFC history, man. I mean, he's tall for the weight class. He's got that long body. You won his belt with punches. I mean, that left hook was very clean. He's got the flying knees. His submission series is just disgusting. He'll take you from Anaconda to Darce to rear naked choke to guillotine to armbar to triangle. I mean, this guy is a stud on the mat. His wrestling, he's got double legs. He's got body lock takedowns. And the most important thing, because like I said, I've never criticized his jiu-jitsu even 10 years ago or his striking or anything. I've always thought he was a phenom and a talent. It was just about the mental. And the David Tamor fight got dropped, came back, destroyed the guy. The Michael Chandler fight got dropped, came back, finished the guy. So I'm seeing him overcome adversity. Now, the spot I'm curious about, if he can still overcome adversity, is a spot similar to when he fought Felder. Can he run Dustin Poirier through the submission series, end up on his back with Dustin on top of him and not break? That's what I'm questioning, because we know he can overcome knockdowns. We've seen that in those 2 fights I mentioned, but can he run you through the series and not break if you survive it? And I've seen Dustin survive some very deep submission attempts. And also on the feet, I love how Dustin switches his stances. I mean, he's got knockout power in both hands. And when I talk about him switching stances, I mean, when he's orthodox, he can use his left hand as a jab. When he's southpaw, he can use his right hand as a jab. I mean, this guy can fire from both directions. Don't sleep on his kicks either, man. That fight against Max Holloway, I loved how he was going upstairs and then mixing down with the calf kicks. The calf kicks against Conor McGregor were a huge weapon. And his durability at 55s is just so much better than it was at 45s, man. I mean, I was worried after the Hooker fight, in that second Conor fight, like if he ate those shots from Hooker, how is he going to eat these shots from Conor? He ate the shots from Conor, no problem. And then when it was his turn to land on Conor, Conor went to sleep. So It's pretty amazing. And let's just date back to the beginning of, Dustin's UFC career. So it was originally supposed to be Jose Aldo versus Josh Grisby for the UFC featherweight title. Josh Grisby was a guy that was undefeated in the WEC, 4-0 with 4 finishes, including against guys like Mark Hominick. Josh Grisby was thought of to be the guy to give Jose Aldo his toughest test. This was UFC 125, the night Frankie Edgar fought Gray Maynard. So Jose Aldo pulls out the fight. Then they call this random new kid, Dustin Poirier, to come fight Josh Grisby. Dustin Poirier beat up Josh Grisby so bad to a point where we never heard from Josh Grisby ever again. And it takes matters further. Josh Grisby ends up getting in all this kind of trouble. I mean, I think
he fought a few times after that.
No, he lost all his fights after that. Like he never won a fight again is what I'm saying. Dustin messed this guy up, and that's when I first saw Dustin. I was like, oh my God, like this guy might be a problem down the line. Ends up, seeing what a big fight is like, the big fight environment like in that first McGregor fight. Didn't go his way, had some ups, had some downs, finally goes up to 55s, looks amazing initially, had the setback to Michael Johnson. And then after that, my God, the run he's been on, I mean, beating Justin Gaethje, beating Max Holloway, Eddie Alvarez, Anthony Pettis. And it's like, it's not just those names on his resume, it's certain things that are happening in those fights. With Justin Gaethje, not only did he have to overcome the leg kicks, but you saw the kind of output he threw against Gaethje. I mean, he threw over 300 strikes. And then the big question against Holloway, the UFC output king, is like, can you match his output? Dustin goes out there. Let me read the exact numbers, just so everyone understands what I'm talking about here. So in the Gaethje fight, Dustin Poirier goes out there against Justin Gaethje, and he throws 350 strikes. Okay. So then the question is, well, can he match that output of a guy like Max Holloway? He goes in there against Max Holloway. He throws 381 strikes, right? So it's not just the UFC KO king, because when you think of KO kings, you think, oh, KO, if you can't get the KO, then what? This guy can throw for all 5 rounds at a very high clip. He's also got an opportunistic submission game of his own. I know lately he's getting this reputation for jumping guillotine, but I know you remember those times that he hit those Darce chokes back in the day, man. So Dustin's the complete package, but so is Charles Oliveira, man. I mean, Charles Oliveira, like I said, most submissions in UFC history, and he's finally overcoming adversity. When we first saw him fight Darren Elkins and Ephraim, I was like, oh my God, who is this guy? Who's this young phenom? So to see them meet all these years later for the belt is truly incredible. But what I really think is going to happen is that Dustin Poirier is going to hurt Charles Oliveira standing, and he's not going to make the meathead mistake that a Michael Chandler made. He's not going to make the unseasoned green errors that a guy like David Tamor made. When Dustin Poirier has you hurt, he's got the famous patented Dustin Poirier blitz, which I think is the best finishing, sequence in all of MMA. I mean, anytime Dustin Poirier has you hurt, I mean, the punches and bunches, and the way he's defensively responsible in those blitzes, man, his head movement's gotten so much better. So give me Dustin Poirier to come out here and do something we've been waiting for him to do for 10 plus years, touch that undisputed gold and new Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great fight. I agree with most of everything. Charles Oliveira, I mean, this dude's very dangerous, man. I mean, you mess up on the ground with this guy, it could be over like that. I mean, that's how good he is on the submission game, and his stand-up's getting better. And I agree with the Michael Chandler thing. Michael Chandler that whole week was saying first round KO. Like, you can't think of title fights like that. I don't think Michael Chandler has anywhere near the composure or just mental toughness in these words. Like I've said multiple times, Chandler is a big puncher for a round, but after that, I mean, it's a big dip off, and he's not necessarily known for doing well in wars. I mean, that's just the honest truth about it. So I think that Dustin Poirier has you hurt like that. I know, like I said, Charles Oliveira is one of maybe be the most dangerous in terms of overall game, but in terms of finishing instinct, man, I don't think there's anybody better than Dustin Poirier. Once we sense, that you're hurt, it's about to be a 30 punch combo coming your way. So, it's going to be a tough fight, man. Look, I understand why people took the Charles at dog money. I mean, you get a great fighter at +1. I mean, I don't
get the champ at +150.
Yeah,
hey,
I don't blame you. But you know, man, it's just Dustin Poirier is like one of these guys where like, dude, he rises to the occasion. Like, I know people are gonna sit here and be like, oh, Conor McGregor's not the same, but do you know the type of bright lights that is, the stage that is? Like, you know, this is gonna be on a big stage too. And I feel like Dustin might not matter, but I feel like Dustin Poirier does better when the lights are brighter, man. I feel like I mean, let's not forget he stopped Max Holloway's 13 fight winning streak. And you know, I know the counters are gonna be like, but he's a featherweight and all this stuff like that. I mean,
You saw what Max did to Charles?
Yeah, like, you know, it was that featherweight, but trust me, Max Holloway could be some lightweights, man. Like, I mean, he's throwing like 500 punches a fight. Like, you know how tired you're gonna be after that. Like, I just think Dustin Poirier is a rise to the occasion type of guy. Look, 100% he could get subbed. I mean, there's no denying that. This guy Charles Oliveira subbed a lot of guys, but you know, I feel like his coaching staff has been progressively talking a lot and, you know, saying Dustin's scared of this and Dustin's scared of that. And, you know, I don't think they have the maturity on this level yet, man. I think, you know, when those lights are bright, you know, if things aren't going good, then the corner starts panicking, you know, and, you know, like Michael Chandler, like that's just like you said, a meathead a meathead error, man. Like Chandler had Gaethje hurt too in the first round, and then what happened after that? You know, look, Chandler's a good fighter. I don't want to rag on him too much, but
he's a great fighter, just not a UFC champ.
Yeah, it's just not a UFC champion level fighter, but great fighter. But I just think Dustin Poirier has a lot more composure, and I think that you know, if we touch Charles Oliveira and get him hurt, that we're not going to give up a lead like that. We're not going to let momentum swing like that. I mean, just look at I know people are going to say Hooker's not on the list, but look, Dan Hooker gave it his all in those first two. I mean, he tried to knock Dustin out. He gave it his all, and, you know, it didn't work out, and he ended up getting his career changed. Like, that's the type of ass whoopings Dustin can hand out. You know, had him in the Dagestani handcuff as well, and, you know, pounded his face. I mean, did you see the UFC destined after that? Like how Hooker's face looked, man. I mean, it was bad. But yeah, man, I respect Charles Oliveira. It could definitely go his way. I mean, but I just think Dustin's worked too hard, man. I know Charles has too, but like it's just I just think it's destiny, man. I think he's not. I just don't see him losing this fight, man. I think he performs better on the brighter stage. I think he'll be more comfortable in those situations like that. And I think he knocks Charles out. I can't say what round. It could be a war. It could be short. But I just see him taking advantage of his opportunity when he gets Charles hurt.
Well, Shaq, now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. Everybody do us a favor. Smash that like button. So, Shaq, what is the fight to watch for UFC 269?
My fight to watch. My fight to watch is gonna be Jeff Neal versus Pons, man. I think Jeff Neal, he needs this one bad. Like he can't lose 3 in a row. And Pons, you know, he's got to keep that he's got to keep that momentum going, man, so he could get back into the top 10. You know, that Li Jingliang fight kind of set him back a little bit. So that's my fight to watch. I think it could be fight of the night too. I mean, maybe we see a desperate, hungry Jeff Neal who needs a win. And I know Pons ain't trying to take no more steps back. Pons has been calling out a lot of people on his Instagram. He's been talking to Bilal a lot. He's been talking to who else was he talking shit to? But I know he was talking shit to Bilal, saying that he's not really top 10 and stuff like that, and saying that he would knock him out. But, you know, Bilal has got he's fighting Wonder Boys, you know, so he's like not even worried about that. But that's my fight to watch.
My fight to watch is Kai Kara-France versus Cody Garbrandt. I mean, firstly, every Cody Garbrandt fight is super exciting. And Kai Kara-France comes to bang. These are two dance partners that are going to go in there and they're going to stand and trade. Maybe a little wrestling on the Garbrandt side, but I see them standing and trading most likely until one man falls or a 3-round exciting fight. It's going to answer a lot of questions. I mean, how does this weight cut to 125 go for a guy like Cody Garbrandt? I mean, he comes out here and wins this fight. All of a sudden, he's in the mix and he's injecting some extra life to the blossoming flyweight division, which has been getting better by the day. You know, thank God for Cejudo, Davis, and Figueiredo and Moreno for saving the flyweight division. Because you remember with that other champ, they were trying to get rid of the weight class. So thank God for these guys.
Oh, the guy that was trying to fight Ray Borg.
Yeah, the guy that's getting knocked out in Japan these days. So Cody Garbrandt comes in here. He wins this fight. All of a sudden, he's in the mix. Kai Kara France wins this fight. That's the biggest win of his career. It's going to be a guaranteed big fight for him next. So this is a huge fight in the flyweight division, and for that reason, it's my fight to watch. Well, Shaq, who is your fighter to watch for UFC 269?
My fighter to watch is gonna be Dominick Cruz, man. I feel like every time this guy competes, it's like a it's like a special occasion, like Jose Aldo, or I feel like this guy's gonna be in the Hall of Fame for sure. But like, man, every time he wins, it just seems like a special moment to me. He's got a tough fight with Pedro Munhoz, and one thing I like about Dom, man, he might be a little bit of a dick, but he speaks his mind, and to be honest, man, it's the truth. Like, I remember when he sat down with TJ Dillashaw and, kind of broke him mentally. Like, that's the type of guy he is. He can just read you by looking at you and just start telling you things about yourself, man. So Dominick Cruz is one of my favorite bantamweights, one of my favorite fighters, period, of all time. So he's my fighter to watch.
Yeah, my fighter to watch is Josh Emmett, man. I mean, look, he had so much momentum. Then he had the unfortunate injury. And if he comes out here and beats a guy like Dan Ige impressively, he'll be on a 4-fight win streak. And also, I mean, he could add to his record for most knockdowns in featherweight history. And not to mention, like, let me pull up the rankings real quick, because a guy like Emmett wins here, and all of a sudden, because currently he's number 7. He's literally right behind Giga Chikadze, Arnold Allen, Calvin Kattar, Korean Zombie, Yair, Ortega, Holloway, Volk. So literally every single fight that he gets from here on out, if he beats Dan Ige, is going to be a huge fight with title implications. I mean, you never know. He could even slide in there and fight for a title, because Max Holloway's been fucking around a little bit, talking about how, he doesn't even need to fight for the belt. He's got 5 belts at home. Like, I'm on the short list to fight Conor McGregor. Like, Max seems like he doesn't even give a shit about fighting Volk. So if that's really the case and they can't get something done, I could see Josh Emmett slide in there and fight Volk real quick. Don't be surprised, man, because Giga and Calvin are about to throw down in January, and I hear Volk is trying to make a quick turnaround. So don't be surprised if Emmett gets a big win and slides into the title conversation. So for that reason, Emmett is my fighter to watch. Well, Shaq, we did it. It's going down this Saturday night live at the T-Mobile Arena. UFC 269, Charles du Bronx Oliveira versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier for the undisputed lightweight belt. They can follow you at MMA Genius 05. Follow me at Best Fight Picks. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, all the places where we are available. We truly appreciate everybody's support. Thank you so much. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back next week for the last card of the year. And then after that, we'll be doing our year-end show with, our KO of the year, fighter of the year, submission of the year, jobber of the year. It's going to be a tight race between Aljo and Woodley on that one, and upset of the year. So many other things to talk about. So yeah, 2 more big shows coming up. Look forward to it. Make sure y'all hit up our sponsor PrizePicks and use the code BATTLE for an 100% deposit match up to $100. That's with code BATTLE at PrizePicks. So guys, thank you all very, very much. We truly appreciate it. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.